I never know if I get applause in the warm-up. And this is just the warm-up, but you're free to applaud. I will never turn that down. For those just arriving, this is just the warm-up, so you are not missing anything.
Can you tell us something about you?
Yes, I will, in just a few minutes.
Okay.
You're going to hear me talk plenty, so don't worry.
Okay.
Although my question is, what would you want to know about me? I will in just a few minutes. then Lee and I, oh, and just when I get ready, one more song, then Lee and I will sing together.
We don't want that.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was a
That's
joke.
a punishment in certain places. You know?
One more instrumental, Lee, then we'll do the introduction.
Yes, sounds good.
Are you ready, Lee?
Sure.
Lee Gundle, everybody.
Singing duet?
Oh,
We don't want that. That's a punishment in certain parts of the world. We don't want that, but I will tell you that we're very happy to have everybody here for this wonderful concert presentation by Jay Daniels, a vocalist and a pianist extraordinaire. So I would clap, but I don't want to mess up his microphone. So help me out. Come on. Some applause, please. Thank you. So that said, yeah, we're just happy everybody's here. This is anticlimactic, but if there's a fire, that's the exit over there. So make your way safely to that exit should the building start to be consumed in flames. That said, get ready for a hot performance from Jay. Woo!
thank you. What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, could swear I was falling. Why, it's almost like being in love. What a day this has been. What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a while. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, could swear I was falling. Why, it's almost like being in love. Yes, it's almost like being in love. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is good to be with you in beautiful Massapequa, New York, as we enjoy a hot summer's afternoon in a freezing auditorium here at the Massapequa Public Library. My name is Jay Daniels. Lee, thank you so much for having me. I only have one rule during my shows, and there's a reason why you see me cueing with my hands. I sometimes get a little bit carried away and I fall back on my choir director days. So I have one rule, and that is this: don't be bashful when you sing. If you can sing, or you merely think you can sing, and even if you're watching online, you can sing at home, I hope you'll sing with me as we continue with another standard from Lerner and Lowe, this one from My Fair Lady on the Street Where You Live. Thank you so much for being here today. I have often walked down the street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I don't care if I can be here on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, guest asked a few moments ago, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I'll try to tell some of my story throughout the hour. Although trouble is, if I start talking too much, we won't have any music, so I'll meet you in the middle. I grew up in Virginia. Virginia was my home for nearly 30 years. I grew up an hour northwest of Richmond in Louisa County, so if you hear a southern accent, that is not the South Bronx you're hearing. Although home for me now is Harlem, and as of yesterday, I got word that I'll be moving to South Jersey, but I'll still be coming back up for performances from time to time. So, no Rolling Stone gathers no moss, right? When I was in Virginia, though, for several years, I was the organist and choir director for an Episcopal church in Waynesboro, the name of which was St. John's. And I was asked to play for weddings and funerals from time to time. Anyone ever been late for their own wedding here? Anyone ever been late? Okay, we're good people here. So I was asked to play for a wedding. I won't mention their names directly. They might be watching, and that wouldn't be very good. That's right, you never do know. But the wedding was supposed to start at 4 o'clock, and me being a good organist, I got there early, started my prelude around 3:30 as the people came in, and the groom was a punctual fellow. His bride, on the other hand, she marched to the beat of her own drum, quite literally some days. 4 o'clock came, surprisingly no bride. So I kept going in the prelude. I said, oh, this is going to be a long day. I can feel it. 4:15 came, no bride. Father Kim comes to the front. Ladies and gentlemen, we are waiting for our bride to arrive, but in the meantime, make yourselves comfortable. Jay will be playing some music for you. And I was like, yes, of course I will. And we'll begin momentarily. 4:30 comes, still no bride. Father Kim and the groom come up front and ask for a vote. Do we want to stay here and wait or just go over to the Elks Lodge and do the ceremony before the reception? People said, we'll wait. 4:45 comes. And a very exasperated Jay is playing prelude twice now. The bride walks in, casually walks in. The church secretary says, you do realize you're 45 minutes late for your wedding? She's like, yes, and it's going to start when I darn well please. She could have heard this next song that we bring you from My Fair Lady, Get Me to the Church on Time.
Get me to the church. For God's sake, get me to the church.
church. Get me to the church. For God's sake, get me to the church on time. Thank you so much. This is the middle of summer. Welcome to the dog days of August. If you watch the news at any point, you would think that everyone is surprised that it's hot outside. Oh, it's so hot. Make sure that you drink plenty of water. I'm like, guys, it turns out this happens the same time every year. But when we think of summer, there are certain songs that we tend to think of around this season. And I wanted to bring you those as part of our Simply Timeless concert today. We continue with this one from the musical Porgy and Bess. I remember asking my voice teacher, Michael Forrest, if he would work with me on this one, and he says, "Baby, that's a soprano song. I don't know if a tenor should sing it." Unfortunately, I asked Lee. He does not sing soprano. I don't know if anyone else here, so you're stuck with me. This is a beautiful one with the music of George Gershwin and the words of novelist DuBose Hayward. The song, Just Right for the Season, Summertime. Jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your ma is good looking. Little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take the sky. But till that morning, there's nothing can harm you. With Daddy and Mommy standing Thank you. So what do we think of when we think of summer? Here on Long Island, you might think of the air show that they have every year at Jones Beach. I think that happened just a few short weeks ago. For those of us back in the city, a beach getaway means going to Coney Island for an evening. I tell you, I've seen and explored so much since I moved to New York back in, I started working up this way in 2018, and I moved to the city in 2020, right in the middle of the worst of COVID. But it's been an experience. It has been a gift. And I have seen so much that I have wanted to explore over the years. And it's funny, you read about things in the newspaper, you read about them in books, see them on television, but to be up close and personal. And Coney Island, on a Friday in the summer, every Friday night about 9:45 or so, they shoot off fireworks. And whenever I listen to this song, I think of those Coney Island summer nights. We have two songs coming up for you, popularized by one of my favorite vocalists, Nat King Cole. This is one that he did in the early 1960s about those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Ready? Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Dust off the sun and moon and sing a song of cheer. Just fill your basket full of sandwiches and weenies, then lock the house up. Now you're sitting, and on the beach you see the girls in their bikinis, as cute as ever, but they never get up wet. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. You wish that summer could always be here. Don't have to tell a girl and fella about a drive-in or some romantic movie scene. Right from the moment that those lovers start arriving, you'll see more kissing in the cars than on the screen. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. You'll wish that summer could always be here. And there's the good old-fashioned picnic, and they still go, always will go anytime. And there will always be a moment that can thrill so, as when the old quartet sings out, "Sweetheart, Aline." Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. Those days of soda and pretzels and beer. Roll out those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer. You'll wish that summer could always be here. You'll wish that summer could always be here. You'll wish that summer could always be here. From time to time during today's program, there will be moments of what I call liquid refreshment. Today's liquid refreshment brought to you by Poland Spring, 1845, born and made. If I had two hands, I'd play some music for my commercials, but, well, did you hear what I just said? If I had two hands, I'd play, excuse me, if I had four hands, I'd play. Jay needs another cup of coffee, too. Now, that particular song that we just did for you, it has the sound of something that might have been written and popularized in the 1920s, but as it turns out, it actually comes from the 1960s, 1962. Earlier in Nat Cole's career, right around 1946. He was recording for Capitol Records with the Nat King Cole Trio. And people often forget that he was just as talented a pianist as he was a vocalist. And during the summer season, you might think of going to the beach, lounging around at the house, or you might think of getting away from it all for a while. Why not go take a little bit of a vacation? This is a song that comes from the writer Bobby Troup of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a song that Nat Cole recorded and popularized in '46. Get your kicks on Route 66. Kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City is mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Boston, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this time to tip when you make that California trip? Get your kicks on Route 66. Let us do some traveling. Question that I often get asked when I'm doing these concerts, some people will say, well, now, Jay, when you're not playing music, what is it that you do? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for the disappointment, but this is what I do. I am a very blessed individual. I do between 30 and 35 of these concerts every month. This is my third library show this year, but for the most part, I serve the senior population, those blessed folks above the age of 65. And I play for a number of communities here near, in this area, near Massapequa, over in Plainview and Lynbrook, over back toward Great Neck as well, and then into New York City and Westchester and Connecticut, and yeah, wherever there's a piano or a need for music, they call me. And to be able to bring these timeless songs to audiences all throughout the month, it really does my heart good, and I hope theirs too. When I was in Virginia, I'm in my mid-30s. I just turned 34 earlier this week. AARP will be calling this. Thank you. AARP will be calling very soon with, sign-up forms.
You got a while yet.
I got a few years, that's right, yeah. So, when I was growing up in Virginia, this was just before we had access to smartphones. If you wanted to get a song, if you wanted to listen to a song, either you bought the CD or the cassette, or you had to, in most cases, wait for it to come on the radio. Anyone ever heard of a mixtape? You'd wait for your song to come on and you'd, put your mixtape, that was a project. We had an oldies station, which I know oldies is subjective. I'm hearing music from when I was a kid on oldies stations now. That's not fair. I know how you might feel. But we had a station called Super Hits 102.3. It was out of Charlottesville, Virginia. And where we lived in Louisa County, the signal could get a little bit rough and weak. Dad didn't care for the static. I didn't mind. I could listen through it. But I remember hearing so many wonderful songs. And for my senior communities this month, I put together a program called From Sea to Shining Sea. Songs about being on the water, songs about being on ships. And when I was putting this together, I thought, what are some songs that I could include? I typically bring stuff from the songbook, from Tin Pan Alley, from Broadway, but I said, what about music from the 60s, soul music? And I thought of this one, this Jim from the great Otis Redding, probably one of his last recordings from the mid-60s. And, I remember hearing this, and we would turn the radio up as loudly as we could. This is one of my favorite songs, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Virginia, headed for the Frisco Bay. I've had nothing to live for, and looks like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. Sitting here resting my bones, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. 2,000 miles I roam, just to make this dock my home. Now I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Looks like nothing's gonna change. Everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. Sitting here resting these bones, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. 2,000 miles I roam, rock my home. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Thank you. Now, I will say some people are hesitant to applaud at the end. They're like, is he going to whistle like Otis Redding would whistle? This boy don't whistle. I want to include one more song from our concert that I did this month, From Sea to Shining Sea. I originally thought that Ike and Tina Turner first did this song. And then I actually, did my research like a good musician should, and I realized, oh, it was actually by John Fogerty. He wrote the song for Creedence Clearwater Revival. A few years later, Ike and Tina Turner would do a rendition, and I got to tell you, I love their interpretation, and I'm going to try and take some inspiration from them. On a hot summer's day, I think of this song, going back to New Orleans. I've never visited New Orleans, but I hear it's beautiful country. And think of the steamboats rolling down the Mississippi, just like the Proud Mary rolling on the river. Now, choir, I know some of us are hesitant, but I'd love to have you join me on the chorus, and I'll cue you when we sing rolling. We're going to, and by the way, you should never rush into anything in life, so we're going to take our time on this song. We're going to ease into it, and then we'll ratchet it up by the end, all right? So don't get too comfortable in your seats. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day, and I never lost 1 minute of sleeping, worrying about the way things might have been. Big wheel keep on turning, Proud Mary keep on burning, sing it, children, rolling, rolling. It is good to be with you. My name is Jay Daniels, and this is a simply timeless afternoon supported by your friends at the Massapequa Public Library. I had sent the library an email several weeks ago, actually I guess maybe a few months ago at this point, and Lee called me on the phone and said, Jay, we received your information. We'd love to book you for a concert. Can you do August the 6th? And I said, well, it is my birthday week. He said, well, we're going to be, doing some renovations afterward. I was like, well, I guess I don't have much choice. So, but I was more than happy to come over. It gets me out of the house for a while, and it's a pleasure to see and meet many of you. After the concert, I know with COVID still going around, if you don't feel comfortable shaking hands, that's fine, but I would love to be able to say hello to you before you leave. But this is a wonderful opportunity to share the gift of music, and as I'm able to share this concert because of the library, continue to support them through your patronage, through your donations, whatever you feel led to do. And I know that they will continue doing so much for the community in return. I will tell you that the library played such an important role in my life as a child. They've gone to a bigger building these days, but I remember we had a library. It was in an old wooden building, very small, but every week my mother and I would go over and we'd check out a stack of books, Where the Wild Things Are. That was one of my favorite by Maurice Sendak. Learned to read Mark Twain there, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and then Huckleberry Finn. And I think those early experiences not only helped me to be a better reader in school when I was in kindergarten and first grade, but certainly cultivated a love of reading in my later years. It's hard in Harlem, where I live now, to read because of all the noise at the intersection, sirens and horns, but there was a time when life was a little bit quieter and I had an easy chair, and I would find a good book. I love biographies, I like fiction, but biographies are what I really enjoy. And I was, there's actually one I spotted at Lee on the way in. It's a biography about Walter Cronkite that you have on display. And I'd get so entrenched in a book that I'd go to bed at like 11 o'clock, maybe even midnight, and I normally wouldn't wake up for work until 8. I'd be up at 5:30 or 6 just to read some more. And so my challenge for you and my encouragement for you after you leave this concert today, not only share the gift of music, the songs that you've heard, but encourage those, and especially our children who are coming up. Encourage them to still read as much as they can, because reading, I think, is knowledge. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen. And it's because of people like those here at the Massapequa Public Library that reading is encouraged, and the community, I think, is enriched because of that. So, Lee, to each of you and the team, thank you for what you do to enrich the community here in Massapequa. I appreciate it. Our last song kind of set us on a tone from New Orleans. And whenever I think of New Orleans, I think of Louis Armstrong. His birthday, he said for years that his birthday was July 4th. Actually, his birthday was August the 4th, the day after mine. And I'd like to do a couple things here for you. The 1950s were a hit and miss time for Louis Armstrong. Throughout the late 20s, he was extremely popular with ensembles like the Hot Five and the Hot Seven, even had his own big band in the late 30s and 40s. But by the 1950s, the times, they were a-changing. And he was recording for Decca Records at this time. He had a hit with Mac the Knife. He did A Kiss to Build a Dream On. But there's a song that it's probably one of the most beautiful works ever written. And I will not go into a great discussion about this, but many of us think that the majority of songs that we've heard were originally crafted in English. I'm here to tell you there are so many songs that we know in English that actually came from the French, from Italian, from Spanish, and so on. And this is one that was originally popularized in the late 40s by the great chanson composer and vocalist Edith Piaf. She did her French rendition, which is still one of my favorite songs of all time. And a few years later in the 1950s, Louis Armstrong would record English lyrics penned by Mac David. These are from 1950. I'm going to sing the English for you the first time around, and then I will come back and sing the French on one of the most beautiful songs ever written, La Vie en Rose. the magic spell you cast. This is La Vie en Rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see La Vie en Rose. When you press me to your heart, I'm in a world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday words seem to turn into love songs. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be La Vie en Rose. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parlait au bas, j'ai vu la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et comme faire quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur, on me parle de bonheur, dont je connais la cause. C'est moi pour lui dans la vie. Il m'a dit la journée pour la vie. Dès que je le perçois, alors je sais de moi mon cœur qui bat. La 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 Thank you. I'm going to do a few more of Louis Armstrong's pieces later in our program, but whenever I play this next song, I don't know that Louis ever recorded this, but it would have been right up his alley if he did. He had a knack for making people smile whenever he got on stage, and people thought that it was a put-on. So many jazzers criticized Louis Armstrong for, appeasing the wrong audience or selling out, and so many things that just were not true. But when you turn on the news today and you just listen to all that's going on, it can get awfully depressing, can't it? Life can get you down some days, am I right? Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to see the good for all of the bad. And yet, there is still so much good, so many people doing what they can to make this a better community and a better world for all of us. And sometimes, even with all of the negativity, ladies and gentlemen, you should heed the words of this sermon written by Johnny Mercer and Harold Arlen. Brothers and sisters, you gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. You gotta spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum, have faith, the pandemonium's liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? Man, they said we ought to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't do, just when everything looks so dark. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of Massapequa, New York, tell me, just what did they do? Man, they said we oughta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Thank you so much. Some of you are going to want to throw something at me when I say this next comment. I've lived in New York City for 2 years. I worked in New York City for 2 years before that. I still haven't been to see a Broadway show. Oh, everyone's so aghast at what Jay just said. Oh. I think this one will resonate with just about everyone in the room. I've seen the film version of this. The story goes, as written in a biography called Pops by Terry Teachout, Louis Armstrong recorded this next song as a favor for his manager Joe Glaser to the songwriter Jerry Herman. In other words, Louis Armstrong and his band didn't get paid for this recording. The year was 1963, early 64, and it came out. And at that time, we were in the midst of what is called the British invasion, you know, the Beatles. Maybe we'll sing some Beatles tunes for you next time I come. But every week on the charts, Beatles, number one, Beatles, number one. People in the jazz world have been saying for years, Louis Armstrong, he's out of touch. He's not hip to the jive, you know. Why does he keep on doing that old Dixieland, New Orleans stuff from the 20s and 30s? Louis Armstrong got the last laugh because this song went all the way to number one, knocking the Beatles off the charts and cementing his place in jazz history until his death. And guess what? This is a song with that sound straight out of New Orleans. Yes, you've heard Barbra Streisand and Carol Channing sing it, but this will always be Louis Armstrong's piece. Hello, Dolly. zibbity bop a doo again. Thank you. Hello, Dolly from 1964. It is amazing how quickly the time passes by, folks, but I'm looking at that clock and it's almost 3 o'clock. Any big plans for anyone tonight? Special dinners? Just going home and taking it easy? I get to sit in traffic on my way home. Hopefully not much, yeah. You know something, we really do have some wonderful neighbors, don't we? Even if things in the world don't always go the way that we want, even if life doesn't turn out the way that we planned, there's still so much to be thankful for, isn't there? Look around you at these people who have all come together to share in this gift of music. These are special moments shared with dear friends and dear souls. And I remember when I first told my people back in Virginia that I was moving to New York City, a lot of them gasped as you did a moment ago that I haven't seen a Broadway show. And they said, how could you go live in a place like New York? It's so bad, so much. And I said, guys, I said, yes, they have their trouble and woe, but doesn't everybody? I remember one of my first visits to New York. I was getting off at Penn Station, as I often did. And anyone who's been to the city knows that if you have a walker, a wheelchair, or you have to pull luggage, it is not easy to go up those steps, is it? They need more elevators in the city, but that's all I'll say about that. But I remember I saw this woman. She had to be in her mid to late 70s, and she was getting off of the train, trying to go up to street level. And to look up, you just see all of these steps, one after another. And she tries to get her luggage up, and she's like, oh, I can't do it. And I'm watching from the other side of the hall. And out of nowhere, this fellow, I guess he was on his way to work, had his backpack on. And he walks up to her, puts his hand on her shoulder and says, can I help you with that? She says, yes. And one by one, step after step, they get that luggage up together. It's little things like that. There are many things that I see like that in the city, even among the craziness that's there. And it reminds me of something that Fred Rogers said when he was off in trouble as a kid. He would say to his mom, why is it that so much bad exists in the world? What can we do? And she says, son, whenever there is a disaster or a tragedy or whenever there is trouble in the world, always look for the helpers. Those people who give of themselves. Those people who do everything they can to make the world a better place. And when I think of moments like that in Penn Station, when I think of those people, I think of this song, one that was extremely popular for Louis Armstrong posthumously as featured in the film Good Morning Vietnam. What a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, a true joy to be with you here in Massapequa. I will say this is my first visit to the town and to the village, and thank you so much, Lee, for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And this is a song that I use to close many of my concerts. It is my wish for you as you go out and enjoy the weeks and months ahead in your life. This is I Wish You Love. I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing, and then a kiss, but more than this, I wish you love. And in July, a lemonade to cool you in some leafy glade. I wish you health, but more than wealth, I wish you love. My aching heart and I agree that you and I could never be. So with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love. Thank you so much. Thank you. And until we meet, and until we, an encore? All right, I'll hold off what I was going to say and do this. One more for you. And then I got to find something to eat. My tummy's growling. Yeah. See, I don't like to eat heavy before the gig. The trouble is, by the end of the gig, I'm like, oh, I'm starving up here. All right, one more. And then if anyone asks for one more after this, you get one more at the next show. And you talk to that man in the back with the tie. Oh, the shark bait has such teeth, dear, and it shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has old Mac Heath, and he keeps it out of sight. You know that shark bites with his teeth, babe. Scarlet billows start to spread. Fancy gloves, though, where's old Mac Heath, baby? So there's never a trace of red on the sidewalk. Blue Sunday morning lies a body just a oozing life, and someone sneaking round that corner. Could that someone be Mac the Knife? There's a tugboat down by the river where a cement bag's just a drooping on down. Oh, that cement, it's just there for the weight down. 5 will get you 10. Old Mackie's back in town. Did you hear about Louis Miller? He disappeared, babe, after drawing out all his hard-earned cash. And now Mackie's spins just like a sailor. Could it be your boys done something rash? Now Jimmy Dava, old Shuki Tawdry, good evening, Miss London, yeah, and old Lucy and Miss Louder than young, and old Lucy Brown. Yes, that line forms on the right, baby. Now that Mikey's back in town. Look out, old Mikey is back. Thank you. And until we meet again, thank you. My name is Jay Daniels, and I encourage you to depart in peace. Remember the poor, pray for the sick, love one another. Have a good day, folks. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you.